Good morning. This is Richard Malcolm speaking. It's October the 3rd, 2021. Um, we've been talking a little bit about eschatology and also the beginning of sorrows and Daniel's 70 weeks and also tribulation, the 70th week of Daniel. I want to kind of revisit a little bit about the Matthew 24 Olivet Discourse, where Jesus is talking to his disciples. And they had said to him how wonderful the temple looked, and he said to them, not one stone would be left upon another, they'd all be cast down. And of course, after his death, and in 70 AD, Titus, the Roman general, came in and they destroyed the temple and quite a bit of Jerusalem. And so there were about four main things he talked about to his disciples that would be the beginning of sorrows. And one was, take heed that no man deceive you. Many will come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and many shall be deceived. And then he said there will be wars, rumors of wars, and there will be nation rising against nation. And there would be earthquakes and famines and pestilence, sickness and disease. And this is all the beginning of sorrows. And so I said before, a lot of this has been in the history of mankind. So what's different today? There's been wars, there's been rumors of wars and pestilence and sickness and nation against nation and earthquakes and famines. So I think the thing to really look at is trends. So as we proceed in the history of mankind, we need to look at what is different from previous generations and history. So there's a number of things to look at. One is the world population has increased tremendously and almost tripled in my lifetime. So again, if you have more people, they'll be consumers, as I said before, and there's only a limited number of resources available in the earth, and we're seeing some of that happen. One of the biggest things is the oceans, and we look at the amount of fish that's available. It's getting less and less, and even the different species themselves. And that's been happening for the last 50 years or so. And so there's lots of information about that available. So the other thing that to look at is that with people come waste, and we talked about that as well. There's more waste. The amount of plastic, like in the oceans and in the waters and the landfills, is it's unbelievable. Billions of pounds. Even Canada was sending in those big steel boxes over the Philippines and places, and they just turn around and sent them right back. Take care of your own garbage. Okay, so the population is one thing. The other thing is earthquakes, and the last 100 years or so, on record, some of the 20 most deadly earthquakes, up to and including 9.5 on the Richter scale. Very, very devastating. And so all the damage, if you look up insurance claims and what have you, cost of life, cost of you name it, these earthquakes. And what goes hand in hand, we've seen recently, is volcanoes. There's some volcanoes that are active right now in the world, and they're causing a lot of, like in Spain there on the island, it's causing a lot of homes are lost, and it's just devastating what they can do as well. So we've got the population increasing, we've got the earthquakes increasing in frequency and magnitude. And then coming back to the water, there's a lot of toxicity in the oceans, the rivers, the streams, the wells. You're looking at contamination from chemical spills, oil spills. You're looking at things like arsenic, mercury. They called it Naramata disease when people were eating the fish that consumed the mercury in Japan years ago. And so there's lead. Lots of times, if they had leaded pipes, they could get into the water system. So there's heavy metals, there's toxic chemicals, lots of pollution going into the. So the potable water now is decreasing. The trend is that it's decreasing for mankind and all other life to sustain itself. We need water. As a person, we're 85% water, so it's very important to us. And as that decreases in availability of clean water, it becomes apparent that you may cause wars and rumors of wars to start up because people need resources. And as your population increases and they're not available, then they may want to go to war over certain things like that. So those are some of the things that are trending. And so the other thing is that with the climate change, we see all kinds of disruption. In the north, we see the polar bear has less opportunity to go on the ice as the ice melts and the sea level rises, and different parts in the world flooding and whatnot can cause. And so in the last, I would say 21 years, including this year, have been the hottest on record temperatures in the world, and hitting in a number of places over 50 degrees Celsius. And so the spin-off to that, of course, is wildfires. And here in BC, earlier on this summer, hundreds of people literally died, mainly elderly, lack of air conditioning and such in Vancouver area and such, and of course other parts of the world. So the heating up causes also spin-offs like droughts, and the droughts, of course, would be like a famine as well if you don't have your crops in. And so we had a stage 4 of 5 drought in BC, so it was getting quite serious as well. And in the prairies, there was problems with drought and not enough rain and crop failures that they were concerned about. So climate change is causing all kinds of disruption and all kinds of storms and hurricanes and different things rising up in the ocean. And I said before, because some of the problems is with the jet stream, and the different streams that go through the oceans around the world are being disrupted as well. And so we're seeing a loss of life of coral and other things in the ocean as part of the climate change. Is they have these greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, and so Vice President Al Gore a number of years ago came up with an inconvenient truth, and how the CO2 levels were rising above 400 ppm, and a lot of the carbon dioxide that's not being absorbed back into the world because of the cutting of the deforestation of trees, a lot of it in South America, so they can have farming and such. And so what we're seeing is the oceans are absorbing a lot of that carbon dioxide, so they're becoming more acidic, carboxylic acid type thing, and you're seeing increase in the elevation of temperatures in the oceans, which affects a lot of the different wildlife in there. The fish and whatnot are dying off because of that. And again, with the toxicity of the water, oil spills. Recently we've had that as well, and different birds and fish that rely on the oceans are being killed because of that, and that happens from time to time. So there's a number of trends that show us it's not business as usual. During my lifetime, there's been a lot of major changes, and so the world is in a bit of a crisis here. And of course, the socio-economic. There's been lots of civil unrest over the last number of years, in Venezuela and the Middle East, and the protests we're having, even with this pandemic over COVID. And so there's lots of issues that are concerning, but this is only the beginning of sorrows. And so as we tie this into Scripture, again, we identify a problem, but we don't focus on the problem. We focus on the solution, and the solution is Jesus Christ. So next week I'll talk a little bit more about these trends that are different, that we haven't seen before, of this frequency and magnitude. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.